Those words echoed through our office break room as my manager of 12 years, Brianna, waved what she thought was my resignation letter in the air, like evidence at a trial. Little did she know, this dramatic scene was just the beginning of the most satisfying workplace revenge story you'll ever hear. What happened next cost her company $3.5 million and proved a lesson she'll never forget. Never underestimate the employee you take for granted. If you've ever felt undervalued at work, this story is for you. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for the ending. It's absolutely incredible. Picture this. It's a typical Tuesday morning. I'm getting my coffee when suddenly my manager storms into the break room. Face flushed red, perfectly styled blonde hair, disheveled from dramatic gesturing. "How could you do this to me, Karen? After everything I've done for you." Half the office staff is watching this unfold. The room goes dead silent, except for the hum of the vending machine. Everyone's waiting to see how this plays out. Here's the thing, though. I hadn't even submitted a resignation letter yet. "Actually, Brianna," I said, keeping my voice calm and professional. "That appears to be a job application I submitted to Gravora Group. How exactly did you get access to that?" Her eyes narrowed dangerously. "That doesn't matter. What matters is that you've been going behind my back, plotting to leave us after 12 years of loyalty." 12 years of loyalty. Let me tell you about those 12 years, because they're about to become very important to this story. My name is Karen Whitley, and at the time of this story, I was 45 years old. For 12 years, I'd been a senior logistics coordinator at Northrise Apparel, a mid-size clothing distribution company in Charlotte, North Carolina. When I started at 33, recently divorced and desperate for stability, the job seemed perfect. Good benefits, reasonable hours, and a chance to build something meaningful in supply chain management. Brianna was my manager for the entire duration. She was 38 when she hired me. Ambitious, sharp, with a business degree from Duke and big dreams of climbing the corporate ladder. Here's where things get interesting. In those first few years, I revolutionized their logistics operations. I built relationships with key suppliers, streamlined processes, and saved the company hundreds of thousands of dollars annually. But guess who took credit for all those improvements during performance reviews? You guessed it, Brianna. And I was okay with that initially. I understood office politics. I figured my contributions would eventually be acknowledged. But around year 5, something changed. Brianna became territorial, controlling. She started micromanaging every client communication, insisting on being copied on every email. When I suggested improvements, she'd implement watered-down versions weeks later, presenting them as her own ideas. That's when I made my first mistake. I asked for a raise. I had just negotiated a contract that saved the company $200,000 annually. I prepared a presentation, made my case professionally. Brianna listened, nodded thoughtfully, and promised to take it up the chain. 2 weeks later, "I fought for you, Karen, but budget constraints. Maybe next review cycle." The second time I asked for a raise was after our primary warehouse flooded. I coordinated backup facilities, rerouted shipments, ensured we didn't miss a single delivery deadline. This crisis management saved millions in lost business. Same response from Brianna. But here's the kicker. 2 months later, she got a significant raise and a new title. By the third time I asked, I'm suspicious. I do some research and discover something shocking. Northrise Apparel was having record-breaking profits. While she's telling me about budget constraints, the company is making more money than ever. The fourth and final time I asked for a raise was comprehensive. I came prepared with financial analyses and industry salary comparisons. Brianna's response was swift and final. "Your current compensation is appropriate. Stop focusing on money and focus on expanding your skill set instead." That night, I updated my resume for the first time in over a decade. I wasn't angry anymore. I was determined. 3 months into my quiet job search, Gravora Group reached out through LinkedIn. They were looking for an experienced logistics director for their East Coast operations. The salary range they mentioned, nearly double what I was making. Nearly double. But here's what really got me. During the interview process, they did their homework. They referenced specific contracts I'd negotiated, mentioned savings initiatives I'd implemented. The hiring manager even said, "Your reputation in the industry is impressive. Several suppliers have mentioned you specifically as someone they enjoy working with." Meanwhile, Brianna had never once acknowledged those relationships. In fact, she seemed threatened when vendors asked to speak with me directly. The offer came through. Senior Director of Logistics Operations, $95,000 annually, full benefits, and a clear path to the executive team. But I felt I owed Northrise one final chance. I scheduled a meeting with Brianna to discuss my career trajectory. I was still naive enough to think she might want to retain me. "I've received an external offer that suggests my compensation might be below market rate," I said carefully. Her response? "You think this is appropriate, using outside offers to manipulate your employer." Then came the words that changed everything. "Karen, you do your job, nothing more. You follow processes I've established and maintain relationships I've helped you build. If you think you're irreplaceable, you're deluding yourself." 12 years. 12 years of late nights, crisis management, going above and beyond. And this is how she saw my contributions. I felt something inside me shift, a final acceptance that this relationship was beyond repair. "I see. I appreciate your perspective." That evening, I called Gravora Group and accepted their offer. Now here's where this story gets absolutely wild. During my first week at Gravora Group, Patricia Wells, my new boss, introduced me to their prospect list. Companies looking to switch logistics providers due to service issues. 3 names on that list made my heart race: Morrison Fabrics, Coastal Manufacturing, and Pinnacle Textiles. All 3 were massive accounts that Northrise had held for over a decade. All 3 were apparently frustrated with their current service levels. These companies have been hesitant to switch because their current provider has established relationships and knows their operations intimately, Patricia explained. "We need someone who understands their businesses." I knew these companies' operations better than anyone. I had spent years learning their seasonal patterns, their requirements, building relationships with their key personnel. I had personally managed their accounts. But it gets better. Patricia handed me a competitive analysis folder. What I saw made my stomach drop. Delivery performance had declined 23% in the past 2 years. Customer satisfaction was down across all major accounts, and 3 significant accounts had already terminated contracts in the past 6 months. Everything I had quietly managed, every fire I had put out, every relationship I had maintained, without me there, it was all falling apart. That evening, I called Robert Uled at Morrison Fabrics. We'd worked together for 8 years. "Karen, congratulations on the promotion. I heard you moved to Gravora Group." "Thank you, Robert. I understand you've been having challenges with your current provider." "That's putting it mildly. Since you left, nothing works the same way. Delivery schedules are inconsistent, communication is terrible, and frankly, I don't trust their new account manager." New account manager? Brianna had assigned a junior coordinator to handle Morrison Fabrics, one of our most complex clients. "What would it take to consider switching providers?" I asked. Robert laughed. "Are you making me an offer, Karen?" Within 48 hours, Morrison Fabrics scheduled a formal meeting to discuss transitioning their logistics operations. The contract was worth $1.2 million annually. But that was just the beginning. Jennifer Hayes from Coastal Manufacturing called me directly 2 days later. "Karen, I hope you don't mind me reaching out. Robert mentioned you moved to Gravora Group, and frankly, we're desperate for help." She detailed 6 months of frustrations, missed deliveries, inflexible scheduling, and arrogant responses when they raised concerns. The final straw was last week. We had an urgent shipment for a product launch, and instead of working with us, their account manager told us our expectations were unrealistic and we needed to plan better. Karen, you know our business. You know we don't make unrealistic demands. She was absolutely right. The third call came from Margaret Torres at Pinnacle Textiles. Karen, we're terminating our contract with Northrise effective next month. Are you interested in taking over our logistics operations? Three of Northrise's largest clients. Combined, these contracts represented over $3.5 million in annual revenue. And they were all actively seeking to leave because the service quality had deteriorated so dramatically in my absence. Patricia and I coordinated the timing perfectly. Monday morning at 9:15 a.m., 3 certified letters arrived at Northrise Apparel's corporate office. Morrison Fabrics, Coastal Manufacturing, Pinnacle Textiles, all sending formal termination notices, all announcing their transition to Gravora Group. The call came before 10 a.m. Karen, we need to talk. Brianna's voice was tight, controlled, but I could hear the panic underneath. Hello, Brianna. How can I help you? Don't play games with me. You poached our clients. This is corporate sabotage. I almost laughed. Brianna, I didn't poach anyone. These companies contacted Gravora Group because they were dissatisfied with their service provider. Perhaps you should examine why 3 major clients decided to terminate relationships within a month of my departure. 30 seconds of silence. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller, desperate. These clients have been with us for years. We can fix this. Can you talk to them? Convince them to give us another chance. The audacity was breathtaking. You want me to convince clients to stay with the company that dismissed me for disloyalty? The company where my contributions were minimal and easily replaceable. Karen, please, I made mistakes. We can work something out. I'm afraid that's not possible. My loyalty is with Gravora Group now. I hung up, feeling a satisfaction I hadn't expected. By Wednesday, the full scope of the crisis became clear. The 3 client departures represented 32% of Northrise's annual logistics revenue. But it got worse. Other clients started questioning their relationships. Word spreads quickly in the logistics industry, and when your largest accounts jump ship, smaller clients pay attention. The executive team called an emergency board meeting. Heads were going to roll. Then came the phone call that made it all worthwhile. Miss Whitley, this is David Patterson from Northrise's executive team. We'd like to offer you your position back with a significant salary increase and promotion to director level. Director level, the position I should have gotten 2 years earlier. I appreciate the offer, Mr. Patterson, but I'm very happy in my current role. Please reconsider. We're prepared to be very flexible on compensation and responsibilities. I'm afraid my answer is final. The woman who had blocked my advancement for years was now desperately trying to fix the disaster her poor judgment had created. Here's what I learned from this experience, and what I want you to take away. First, know your worth. If you're consistently undervalued, start looking elsewhere. The market will tell you what you're really worth. Second, document everything. Those vendor relationships, those process improvements, those crisis management saves. They all mattered more than my manager realized. Third, sometimes the best revenge isn't elaborate schemes. It's simply removing yourself from a toxic situation and letting people experience the consequences of their actions. Fourth, never burn bridges with clients or vendors. Those relationships are yours, not your company's. Finally, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Brianna showed me repeatedly that she didn't value my contributions. I should have listened sooner. 6 months later, Northrise Apparel had laid off 30% of their logistics staff and was struggling to maintain their remaining client relationships. Brianna was restructured out of her position. Meanwhile, Gravora Group became a major regional player, and I was promoted to Vice President of Operations within a year. The 3 clients who followed me, they're still with Gravora Group. and their satisfaction scores are at all-time highs. Sometimes the universe has a funny way of delivering justice. You just have to be patient enough to let it unfold. What's your workplace revenge story? Have you ever been undervalued by a manager who didn't understand your worth? Share your experiences in the comments below. I read every single one. And if this story resonated with you, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I share workplace survival stories, career advice, and lessons learned from the corporate trenches every week. Remember, you're worth more than someone else's inability to see your value. Sometimes walking away is the most powerful move you can make. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, know your worth and don't let anyone convince you otherwise.